so many people want to kind of like redo the past somehow. And I think there's this big misconception of therapy as you go to therapy, you talk about your childhood ad nauseum, and you never leave. And that is not at all what therapy is, at least therapy that will help you. So everybody's laughing like, oh no. So, you can't go to therapy and think that you're just going to go and talk every week and talk about your childhood and talk about your parents, and then you're going to leave and you're going to come back next week and do the same thing. That gets really boring, not only for me, by the way, but it gets really boring for you. And so when you come to therapy, you have to be both vulnerable and accountable. And that means that insight, we like to say insight isn't the booby prize of therapy. I mean, insight is the booby prize of therapy, I should say. Meaning if you just gain insight and you don't make changes in your life outside of the therapy room, the insight is useless. So somebody might say, now I understand why I keep getting in arguments with my partner, right? And then they go home and they do exactly the same thing. And then they come back and then they tell you, oh, I understood why I did that. Well, that's great, but you have to actually do something different. And I think that that's really important about, we're not here to change your past. We're here to help you to understand how the past informs the narrative that you're carrying around about yourself. We have these narratives in our head like, I'm unlovable, or I'm not worthy, or nothing will ever work out for me, or in John's case, I'm better than everybody else, was his narrative. And they protect us. But those narratives are just, they're faulty narratives. And I was a journalist for all these years before I became a therapist, and I feel like a lot of what I do as a therapist is I'm an editor as I sit in that chair, that people come in with a story, and I'm listening not only to their story, but I'm listening to their flexibility with the story. Who's the protagonist? Who are the antagonists? And do we have those confused a little bit? Is the protagonist going in circles, or is the protagonist moving forward? What are some of the, is the plot, are they like stuck at a certain point in the plot? And how can we rewrite some of these faulty narratives so that doesn't color every choice, every decision, everything they're doing out in the world every day in the present?